It may be just a tiny township, but Los Osos has some really big infrastructure problems and faces enormous civil issues. And those residents who will endure the most severe economic impact of major pending changes have nearly exhausted their options, as well as their allies. Diagnosis: acute sewer fatigue. A controversy centering around a planned sewer for this unincorporated seaside community has been simmering for nearly 3 decades now, and one would be hard-pressed to identify a place in these United States that has been longer or more deeply divided as a result of a proposed civic improvement than Little Los Osos.
Every individual within that town is threatened by a sewer bill that inevitably will force out anyone on a fixed income.
In order to understand the utterly complex mess the Los Osos sewer issue has become over these many years, it is necessary only to grasp the simple concept of bait and switch. Bait and switch is an unlawful tactic in which a seller advertises a product with the intention of persuading customers to purchase a more expensive product.
When the CSD was formed for the more affordable project, which was the step-steg pond system, 80% of the voters voted for it.
More than just a battle between those who advocate for or against a sewer in general, or a particular kind of facility, or its eventual location, this issue has fractionalized the community's residents themselves over a dizzying array of personal differences, consequently becoming a more or less impotent opponent to the sprawling international construction conglomerate now lined up to design and build an expensive new gravity sewer.
It's a developer project. Whenever developers make the project, it's going to cost a lot of money.
Residents' widely varied agendas helped create a fluid political atmosphere, allowing this giant, politically influential contractor and its fleet of consulting firms to commandeer the project. And when that happened, the sewer's cost began a steady rise that has yet to reach its peak.
The county's proposed project is $220 million. A little over $250 a month if you include the on-lot costs.
They can add as many costs for whatever they want as long as they want. So this bill can continue to increase.
This is America, and this should not be allowed to happen.
The sewer plan from hell, or a heavily laden money tree?
They're motivated to make as much profit as they possibly can. So they're not working in the interests of the community at all. And the county is not working in the interests of this community at all either. They have no motivation to.
There has always been activity from people who just wanted to get a green environmental sewer that didn't cost an arm and a leg.
Los Osos CSD was formed based on having a step-steg collection system and a pond system for $33 million, or $36 a month.
It all started back in 1983 when a regional water quality board declared a section of Los Osos to be a prohibition zone because of what officials feared was a growing problem with leaky septic tanks. This was fouling the underground water supply and threatening a nearby estuary. Or so went the assertion.
Here in Los Osos, it was really easy to make us the scapegoats, that it's our septics that are leaking.
Even to this day, after 30 years, there's inadequate proof to determine that nitrates are indeed the problem in Los Osos.
The water board permitted the septic tanks, the leach fields, so did the county. So why are the citizens being left with this huge, expensive burden if they didn't cause it?
The lack of unity in Los Osos has played a huge part in its fate.
County planners had an idea in mind, but the Los Osos community was already badly divided over the whole issue by the end of the 1990s. In an effort to wrest control of the sewer's future from the county, Los Osos voters created in 1998 a community services district.
The community group had a plan that was affordable and environmentally protective.
It's very obvious that we're not going for good technology and more affordable. We're going for a status quo.
The new district's new board, at the suggestion of its interim general manager, Paavo Ogren, immediately retained one of the world's largest wastewater technology firms, Montgomery Watson Harza Global, as the project manager. Ogren then trotted off to join San Luis Obispo County as its Public Works Director, but not before he had declined to sign that pending contract with Montgomery Watson Harza. Ogren required the incoming general manager, Bruce Buell, to unlawfully backdate and execute the contract.
Bruce Buell was brought in as a full-time manager, and he was asked to backdate the contracts with Montgomery Watson Harza, who had now come on board, kind of subtly changing everything.
This action would not become public until 2009. Its intent? To shield Ogren from just this kind of conflict of interest criticism.
He asked him to backdate contracts to ensure that Montgomery Watson Harza would indeed get the contract for Los Osos.
Ogren has denied any improper connections to Montgomery Watson Harza, and in 2009 told the County Board of Supervisors, quote, "Unequivocally, I have not engaged in any illegal or unethical activities," unquote. The county's attorney later would agree. The 7 years after Buell's appointment were marked by turmoil as Los Osos residents argued over the design, type, location, cost, and even the need for a sewer system.
You have these multiple fragmented groups who all appear to be fighting for the same goal, but it's not so.
In 2006, the Los Osos Community Services District filed Chapter 9 bankruptcy. The board terminated its contract with Montgomery Watson Harza, alleging breach of contract and numerous violations of state law, and sought repayment of $6 million already paid to the contractor. That same year, the board began working with a new contractor, Ripley Pacific, on a less invasive, cheaper, and greener method of dealing with the septic issue called STEP.
STEP-STAG is a collection system which uses the septic tanks, and instead of the septic effluent going into the leach field, it goes into a collection pipe and then goes out for a centralized treatment somewhere.
But while this new plan might have made sense, the bitter community discord had already taken its toll. Even as the new board explored new sewer technologies, an election was occurring that would have a profound impact on Los Osos' future. Bruce Gibson won a supervisor's seat representing the embattled community, and the former planning commissioner already had his plan.
The decision was made long ago as to what this project's going to be. The permit, the financing are for gravity systems, so that issue is now settled.
Then in 2007, Republican state lawmaker Sam Blakesley authored a bill which returned control of the sewer's future to the county of San Luis Obispo, and back into the hands of Pavel Ogren. It didn't take long for Ogren and his hand-picked selection committee to trash the STEP plan and reinstall Montgomery Watson Harza as the project engineer, with a no-bid contract. Most of that selection committee was comprised of consultants and county employees with ties to Montgomery Watson Harza.
The appearance of conflict is profound. You have the county sole sourcing with companies it uses over and over and over again.
All the assertions about Mr. Ogren's involvement were thoroughly looked into, and absolutely no conflict of interest was found.
Montgomery Watson Harza is most comfortable when building traditional gravity flow concrete pipeline sewers with chronically expensive collection and treatment facilities, and that's what the county opted for. And now current residents are facing a whopping $250 or more a month to help pay for the gravity sewer, 10 times the national average. More to the point, many of these current residents are people who now face the prospect of losing their homes because of this sewer.
It's prohibitive to low-income people. Working people that live here can't afford that, and many retired people on fixed incomes can't afford it either.
It has caused us a great deal of stress.
You not only take on the county and Montgomery Watson Harza and Carollo and all the others, you also take on the Regional Water Quality Control Board, because it's a tandem game, and it's the formula that is going to take something more than what we have available in this county. So
they just had a bias towards having a gravity sewer, and the consultants, the engineering consultants that are involved, are closely tied with them and with politicians.
The Board of Supervisors is basically the board of developers.
We really have a culture here.
I believe we have the most corrupt county in California.
Legally, conflict of interest is almost impossible to prove. With that, it leaves worlds of room for conflicts to grow.
I do not see conflict of interest in the actions of Montgomery Watson Harza in the previous actions that they have had as part of a sewer system in Los Osos.
This is how they do business. Montgomery Watson Harza has a long history of misdealings with communities, especially small communities who cannot fight back easily.
This is called the gentrification process.
Instead of being about just getting us a way of cleaning up our wastewater or dealing with our saltwater intrusion, we are actually cleansing the town of low-income people so that we can turn this into more of a Carmel by the Sea type place.
50% of the town right now cannot afford that sewer. And once they leave, then there'll be a whole new Los Osos for those who can't afford it.
Particularly galling to current Los Osos residents is the fact that owners of vacant lots will escape paying any share of the sewer's capital costs. These lucky owners include numerous multi-acre residential developers and others enriched by the current formula, people who freely participate in the financial support of cooperative local politicians.
It's incredible that a small group of selected Los Osos homeowners are expected to pay for what will be more than a $200 million project, when not only can they not afford it, but the whole town is enjoying the special benefits of the clean water, and yet only a tiny portion is paying for it. That's a crime.
So which local politician has grabbed the reins and become the champion of that original Los Osos sewer mantra, affordable, green, less intrusive? There is none. Supervisors have unanimously endorsed the big, expensive gravity sewer system and treatment plants so desired by Ogren and Montgomery Watson Harza. Some in the community thought Supervisor Bruce Gibson would be helpful. After all, he represents the area.
We had a serious problem prior to Bruce Gibson. We had Shirley Bianchi. Then we had Gibson coming in on the heels, who absolutely wanted to follow Shirley Bianchi's desires.
He plays to the, what I would call the environmental elite, those people that have a lot of money, and they give him a lot of money to run his campaign, and that's how he's been successful.
Bruce Gibson is not in favor of a greener project because a greener project would allow people to stay in Los Osos. Gibson is a very ambitious politician.
Journalist Oakes says he's speaking out these days from an undisclosed location.
Projecting this point of view has created problems for myself and my family. We've received death threats by day and by night. I've been told that I myself am under investigation.
Gibson doesn't quibble with the notion that the gravity sewer will wreak havoc on the existing community. He recently told state water regulators that the financial impact on the community of Los Osos is significant. The project will pose a significant burden to lower-income households.
It certainly has caused a lot of heartache.
In the final analysis, the sewer issue may indeed be determined by the flow of money. San Luis Obispo County can't afford to build it without additional large loans from federal and state sources, and that alone, in these days of national economic turmoil, could do more to derail the big, expensive, controversial gravity sewer than all those years of salty tears in the Valley of the Bears.